Welcome everybody to this video presentation of mine. What just happened on September 23rd, 2025? Well, we had the Feast of Trumpets. But in Israel, it was a big deal because they had like 100 trumpets being blown. And so to them, it's the beginning, it's Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the Jewish New Year. But it was more than just a casual blowing. It was 100, a big celebration almost. And so a lot of people thought it was really the fulfillment of this feast when Bible prophecy people think that that's the start of the tribulation. So a lot of Christians believe this was the rapture coming on the 23rd, but nothing happened. But my question is, does that mean we're not in the tribulation? In the Feast of Trumpets 2025, we have what traditionally, this is just, they have them every year, but this one traditionally is believed to be the beginning of the tribulation. It's the fall feast, the first of the fall feasts. And Paul talks about this seasons, times and seasons in 1 Thessalonians. He says, concerning the times and seasons, brethren, we have no need that I should write to you, for you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes like a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pain upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. Now, I don't have to go into Old Testament passages to show you this, but this this is talking about the destruction that comes on the day of the Lord, because one day they're going to say peace and safety, and then sudden destruction comes upon them. It's like as in the days of Noah, as in the days of Lot. One day was everything was fine, and then boom, sudden destruction, like from God, that type of destruction. It's the God's wrath. And so Paul's talking about times and seasons. When does this time come? And I'd like to look at this for a bit. Birth pangs, I think here, it's a singular here. I think they're referring to the tribulation. So not just the start, but at the end of it, here in this part, it's the final birth pang, the final pain. We see this in the feasts. There's a fall feast and there are spring feasts. Paul says, as to the times and seasons, you see, this is the fall season. These other in the spring have already been fulfilled. Passover, unleavened bread, Pentecost. But these in the spring, trumpets is the first one, they have not been fulfilled. Or were they on September 23rd? That's what we're looking at here. Jesus mentions Matthew 24, for nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginning of birth pangs. And I'm looking at birth pangs, as I said, tribulation. So Jesus is really talking about, this is just the beginning of the tribulation. This tribulation is the 7-year tribulation. It's not just one day when the destruction comes. Paul talks about it as birth pangs, but these birth pangs, they begin small and they increase until the point where this woman has a baby, and that's like the end of the age. And so this is what they're talking about here. So we're looking at the beginning of the tribulation, and these are some of the signs. And so that's what I'm saying. Are we seeing these signs? Have we entered into the birth pangs? The 80th UN General Assembly just happened on that same day. And that's why people thought, well, and they talk about peace and security. And that's what Paul says, when they say peace and safety, That is connected with birth pangs. And what I'm saying is, here we have the UN saying peace and security, when in fact we could be entering into this final 7-year tribulation, the beginning of the birth pangs. And that's what Jesus says. These are just the start. It's not, hasn't come yet. First thing, they're recognizing the state of Palestine, over 100 nations. So this isn't peace. Is this the beginning of this 7-year tribulation? That's what I'm wondering. In Joel it says, blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm on my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. Why? For the day of the Lord comes, for it is nigh at hand. And this is more the final destruction, and but it's also the start of this tribulation. And the beginning. And this is what we have in Israel right now, this gathering on the 23rd of September, and all these trumpets being blown. And we could be already at the start of the tribulation. That's what I think. Just because the rapture hasn't taken place doesn't mean that that it hasn't started. And because here are the birth pangs, the signs. In Joel it says, I will gather all the nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. There Jehoshaphat means Jehovah judges. There I'll enter into judgment with them on behalf of my people and my inheritance Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and they have divided up my land. This is what's going on right now. So they're going to divide up. They're trying to create a Palestinian state. And this is this two-state solution. And what they're going to do, we see here, they're going to scatter Israel. That hasn't happened yet. But on that gloomy day, they will. And they're going to, make sure they have these divide up the land. Who? My land. It's not their land. It's the Lord's land. And, he's given it to Israel, his inheritance. And then it says, and this is talking about this gathering, it's nothing but Armageddon. And here he says, then I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, those who, divided up my land, and their armies gathered together to make war against the rider on the white horse and his army. This is Armageddon. That's the destruction Paul's talking about. And when they say peace and security, boom. And it'll be from the Lord, that destruction. So pretty interesting. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have trusted Christ your Savior, because that's our only escape. So God bless, and keep on the alert.